Okay, we're here live on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. I think we're broadcasting over at YouTube, doing a live cast. And so my remaining guests right now are Ken Doss and Renee Powers. And these are the two people that probably have dug the deepest into this situation and have some things that they want to share about this. So, Renee, I'm going to get you to hold on for just 1 minute. As Ken, you were pretty well received with that information that you brought down to Harney County, weren't you?
Yes, I was very well received. I met with Hammond, and I met with some very, very wonderful people that I basically educated and made them aware of what's going on as far as the underlying aspects of this. And they caught on to it, and they were very well receiving of it. And I think that this is going to tie in quite nicely at some point in the future to where we can break this wide open. And I connected with them as far as how they're doing this and how the theft of lands are being conducted and how they're doing it through these automated processes and to this false impression of the false definition of securitization. So yes, I was very well received. I was very, very pleased. I was very excited, and I'm very excited to work further with them. Oh, did I get lost? Did I get dropped?
No, Ken, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I thought I got you there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here, but I think we've lost Patricia. But what I'd like
no, I put myself on
up
mute while I was doing something. Sorry, guys.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let me back up just a second. I want to talk about the cameras. And what a lot of people don't know, and it's really surprising when you find this out. These counties, municipalities, the boroughs, they third-party contract all of them together. You have the sheriffs, the utilities, and I found this out because when my property was SWAT teamed, the electric company cut my lines. They usually come in ahead of the SWAT team and cut the lines, and they third-party contract with the sheriffs or the police to do this. Then you also have ties into the city or county. So you have your board of supervisors running the business of the county. And when you realize these are all third-party contractors, these are businesses, these are not government entities. And they all work together in unison to control everything. And those boxes up there, that wasn't just the box sitting up there owned by the utility company. No, that you had a lot of vendors going on behind the scenes. And what makes this important to know, yes, because Ken ties this in. This is how we work together. And I got to give a shout out to Tara, Shelley Johnson, Carol Keene. I'll tell you what, Carol Keene is a computer. And she's been a research partner of mine for a couple of years when we started working into the patents, and Ken's been at it for years. But what's interesting is all of us behind the scenes, our research, no matter what we're doing, there always seems to be a patent that pops up. So the third-party contracts are huge when you realize they're vendors. It's just like you went to the circus and you're throwing the balls at the little, the toys to knock them down, or you're blowing up the balloon through the clown's mouth. It's exactly the same thing. It's third-party vendors. So we have to get control of this. Yes. And Ken has a lot of information for that.
A lot of this, and she mentions vendors and contracts, and that's exactly what these are. These are licensing contracts that they have amongst one another, and they're licensing of their trade names, their trademarks, their products and whatnot, and these all tie in together in one. It's not really, people say.
Now, Ken, you and Renee are talking code here, okay? You guys have like a huge foundation in this, and I can't allow this right now. You've got to talk. You've got to talk some basic stuff with us. We'll
here's
you can roll it all out from the beginning, and that'll be great, and lay the foundation for us. So
here's the basic simplicity of it.
Okay, good. Pretend I'm in second grade. Go ahead.
What they did is they lured people into this idea of home ownership and ranch ownership or land ownership as property owners. they, as if it was as if this was paradigm, as if it was your parents purchasing of their home and their parents purchasing their home, that it related to a negotiable instrument. I mean, that is a static document that once it's signed, sealed, and delivered, it's done with. It's over with. That's the package. What they've done, though, is they've lured people into these lease agreements purported to be a mortgage loan. So what they did was they gave the people this idea of being a homeowner and a landowner and having a mortgage. But what in actuality what they did was they set people up so that they can create extra rights in their property. And that's what they do behind the scenes. They create mineral rights. They create water rights. And if they're already created, they steal those water rights and mineral rights. How do they do that? They do that because they put it out into public bid and into public exchanges so that they can trade it and drive up the value of everything. So what they're doing is this applies to ranchers, to homeowners, to condo owners. What they're doing is they're undermining and creating all these extra rights in people's property that they have no right to do whatsoever. And because it's a lease, they get you're paying they separate the interest and the principal apart, and they take that interest and they invest it in high yield annuities and insurance policies for themselves when they come back and they default you. So if somebody's interested in a ranch, say for instance, say the federal government or BLM is interested in a ranch because there's high content of minerals there, or an easement that they want, or water rights that they want, what they'll do is they'll get this rancher into a mortgage, what's believed to be a mortgage, which is actually a lease, and they'll go ahead and undermine all those rights and purchase all those rights behind the rancher's or the homeowner's back, and then they'll default them. And when they default them, of course, what happens? You go into court and you defend it as a foreclosure. You're affirming a debt, and of course, we know the courts are criminal and crooked because they're in on this thing, and they just throw the person off their house or off their land. And so now you have the person that has, or the person or people or organization or federal government that has been purchasing those rights behind your back, they have what's known as a free asset now. So they just come in, and now they've got all the money that comes in from the insurance policies, all of the fees and credits that have run through as many times as they've sold these rights time and time again. So what they've done in all across the nation, all across the world, is they've created this myth of a mortgage loan that does not exist. What they did, and LeVoy said it he said it perfectly. He said what they do is they lease it back to you, and that's exactly what they're doing. They give you this impression that you have ownership of something, but you don't. And then they're turning around and giving it a lease back and leasing it back to you, while at the same time they're undermining it and stealing it away from you. And these are
let me interrupt just a second, Ken, to just make a point here so anybody listening, because we want it to make sense. When you go and you autograph these documents, believing you're buying a home, everyone can get your documents out. Anyone right now. You get your documents out, and on usually the top of the second page, you're going to see that you are seized, that you are giving, swearing that you are seized to be able to encumber the estate and attach it to the property. Now, there's a real key here. They say estate, and then they say property. What you don't realize is that they're not one and the same, but we, not knowing, because that's not, we're buying a home, we believe. So we believe their intentions is what the contract is about. But what they're actually talking about is your living estate. When they talk about you are seized, the only thing you can be seized of on the surface is your living estate. And what is that? That's your signature. That's your life. That's your children. That's anything that estate could have a value when you go into probate.
Right. Exactly.
So what happens here is we sign the dotted line, and right away, as soon as that ink is on that paper, you literally could sit and wait for a check, because that signature right there allows you, because you become the creditor. You're not the debtor. You're the creditor.
Yes. And explain to them why that is. That's because
let me finish and then take it, Ken. That check that they are taking actually belongs to you, but they bypass you, in essence, stealing due to the fact that they're not disclosing these things. So when people say, I can't figure out how they're doing all of this. Well, I had 1.63 acres almost stolen from me from what Ken was talking about, the easements, right? Well, how
Right.
did they do that? Through the signature on the backside, through identity theft, intellectual property theft, theft of everything you can imagine that you don't even know is going on.
Right,
So
and there's
go
no way
ahead.
that you can. And ignorance is not not an excuse. Doesn't fly here, because what they've done is they have completely sealed off all information of any kind of mutual assent to the consumer or to the borrower by withholding what they're really executing, what they're really signing. You know, when you look at these mortgage loan documents, you see the word property, you see the word real property once or twice within the document. All other times, all you see is the general term property. Well, what kind of property is there? There's three different types, and there's real property, there's personal property, and what's the third type? Intellectual property. Now, this is something that a consumer would have no knowledge of whatsoever at all, because this is something these are new business processes that were introduced after 1998, and it admits it within the patents. It talks about this is a new financial product. Well, if you're going to introduce a new financial product, where you're going to turn me into a lease. And I don't actually have a mortgage loan, then there's a problem there with mutual assent. And Renee is right. And the reason why we are seized of everything is because it is a lease. We don't have ownership. And the reason why we're the creditor is because it is a lease, and we're not getting anything out of it. We have basically given them all rights to our living estate through our signature, and given them all rights to our real property and any rights and property that they can create thereunder, which is all these intellectual property rights that refer to mineral rights, water rights. I mean, it's the most massive fraud in history. And the beauty of it, though, is that we can prove it. We can lay down the documents to show exactly what they have done and how they have done it. We could show how it ties directly into the county through foreclosure bonds, through insurances, through pension funds. So these are things that, I mean, we can tie this from Judge Nasty all the way up to Wall Street, all the way into the federal government, all the way overseas to China. We can tie all the connections in on exactly what they've done. And they have, so we are, by all accounts, we are wealthy. Each and every one of us is wealthy. The problem is they stole it from us, and they stole it from us through a signature.
And the thing is, fraud does not stand. So it all goes straight back. And so many people have fought. And what we see is, you know, you fight. Well, you don't have to fight. There is no fight here. And the one thing I loved about what KrisAnne says is the Constitution's non-negotiable.
Right, and fraud.
Right.
There is no
Fraud
negotiating. And
vitiates
so
the
what
contract.
happens? Correct. And it's contract fraud. That's what all of this comes down to. It's contract. Everything Ammon's doing out there, what are they doing? They're going through contracts. They're going through patents. They're going through deeds. They're going through, all of it ties into contracts.
And what's a contract? A contract is supposed to be a static instrument, right? And the Constitution is a contract. It's a static instrument. A mortgage loan should be a static instrument, but it's not.
It's alive.
They didn't just breach the contract. There never was a contract, period. There was a
well, because there's
agreement.
no, it's not executed. It's on,
Right.
it's unexecutory. It only has one signature.
Renee,
There's
Ken,
never any-
we're coming up on the end of the hour here. We've got a little bit more time. But Renee, you said you wanted to talk about something that's going on in your county and what you found in the county charter and what you're doing about it.
Oh,
Can
in
we-
everybody's
can we-
county, right? Well, because what we're talking about here, one thing that we're very clear on as researchers is not just talking about the problem, because we see that happen all over. This has happened, that's happened. I mean, the atrocities that we know just being at the ranch, and then being out here in Oregon at Sugar Pine. When you hear the stories, well, we all have stories. And the one thing that the crooks and the evil people, and like Judge Nasty, they forget is when you commit crimes against people, they either do one of two things. They either stick their head in the sand and just go with it, or they learn how to fix it and what happened to get them there, to get them so they can get out of it. What you have here, Ken and I, Carol, Marjorie, Liz, Shelley, Tara, what you have here are people who have been harmed previously. We're not victims. We're survivors, but we're also now your warriors out there because we have to fix this. So how do we do that? Well, what we found is we know that there's accountability, and everybody's out here talking about all the presidents, you know, all of these races. What people need to do is look right in your backyard, right where you are, because your county board of supervisors, now some back east, it's commissioners, you know, there's different words for it, but your county government, your city county governments, those are your key areas. So what happens is, Fritz, I'm going to give a shout out to Fitzpatrick. I love her. She's another one of our warrior women. She and I got talking, and all of it was tied into risk management. My issues all turned back into risk management between the cell tower company and the sheriffs and these debt collectors, mind you, debt collectors. This is all has to do with the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. All of these contracts, because they're selling them off to debt collectors who are cockroaches of the earth. So what happened was, as we said, well, who's accountable?
You're breaking up a little bit, Renee.
Sakes, there's a county charter. Then, okay, well, then we have this in Oregon, and I'm watching what Ammon and the crew are doing with these safety committees. And all of a sudden I start thinking, wait a minute, we have missed that one element in this whole country. We've had National Liberty Alliance, you know, everybody's screaming for common law grand juries. And that was the missing element, is those safety committees. And, you know, they started back in 1760s, you know, before the revolution. This is how it all started. It all started with the militias, and just like is happening now. It's if you put these men in attire from the 1700s, that's where we would be again, because that's exactly what they're doing, because the government has gotten out of control. Well, we know they're a corporation, but that's for another day.
Corporation mouse.
Anyhow,
It's the government.
yeah. So at the local level, when we went into our county supervisors meetings, and we have complained about the sheriffs committing crimes against the people, evicting people who have already proven that all of their contracts are fraud. Then they won't take police reports. They won't take sheriff reports, but they'll show up and they'll kick you out of your house with guns on you. So where is the accountability? Well, we know they're third-party contracted. Well, guess what? You get into your county charters, and one of the first thing it says is that nasty word, for some reason, that Harney County didn't know before the Constitution. Well, that word is one of the first things usually in these charters, that their state constitution will not be violated, and that the people have the final say. And when Fritz told me that, I went, oh, that's it. It's all tying together. This is what happens when you, as a bully, tyrannical bully, continue to hurt people, when they realize, wait a minute, your own charter says that the people have the final say. We bring you our grievances over and over and over again. The sheriffs are doing illegal SWAT teams. They're removing people out of their homes unlawfully. The police are involved, and homes are being sold illegally on the steps of the court, which, by the way, in Orange County, our district attorney's under investigation. The sheriff's department's under investigation for 25 years of secret files kept on inmates. The district attorney's mad because they're looking into him, but that's okay. There's a panel of 5 in Orange County, who most of them are attorneys or previous county members, or, you know, it's the good old boys club, Fox in charge of the hen house. Then you have the board of supervisors who sit there and look at you and do nothing. We have a DA who's supposed to be able to expunge right out of county record the fraud. But yet when we go in to show them that these county documents are unlawful, they do nothing. And then again, we say, why is that? Well, you know what we found, Patricia, which really set us off in the patent end of risk management. What we found was there's a company that Orange County, Los Angeles, San Diego, and Riverside County own, and it's called Secure. It's all capital S's. It has to do with electronic document recordation.
Like MERS.
Like MERS. Well, MERS is, yes. But this system is what they use throughout the country. Any county can buy into this contract with Orange County, Riverside, San Diego, and Los Angeles. And they, for a minimum of $100,000, it costs to get contract with this system so that the banks, the debt collectors, the title companies, the escrows, the court can all electronically record documents as their clients of the county, their customers, which now we know it's not us, it's not we the people that are the customers. It is the very entities who they've contracted to take care of recording documents that are stealing from us with their help. County charter violation? You betcha. Not only
Where is this going to lead?
Where this
I
leads-
want you to give me the good news about where this is
where
going
this
before we
leads
run out
is
of time.
when they violate the county charter, it shuts the county down. And the county's charters say the people have the final say. So what the good news is that's the fact. That's their rules. That's the fact, Jack. You go in front of the county board of supervisors, you literally can say, we are here, we've given you our grievances, we are here to give you notice that we are getting into the books this week or tomorrow, or we're ready now, but we'll proceed when we'll negotiate a time to come in, but we are going to do this. The people right in the charter have the power to audit the county books. And we're not just talking the budget books that are on the surface. We know they double book.
Well, that's pretty big information.
Well, and
Ken, you
It's
want to give
huge.
us? Ken, you want to comment on this before we wrap up?
Oh, yeah, I definitely want to comment on this. Everything that Renee's talked about, we can prove. We can prove that this through patented processes. We can prove that Goldman Sachs ties directly into the county courthouses, ties into the records, ties into indexing, ties into the IRS, ties into the 1031 exchanges. We can show that Goldman Sachs is canceling the debt and there is no debt. And we could show that the risk management end of this goes right into the county. So everything that Renee is talking about, we can lay down the documents that prove that they're doing this. So they have no out now. They have no
And
out.
the CAFRs, talk about the CAFRs. Talk about the CAFRs real quick, just as the CAFRs, their retirement funds that are tied into.
Yes, well, yes, everything's tied in. It's profitable for the counties to throw people out of their houses. Why? Because when a home goes into foreclosure, it becomes what they call nationalization, which creates all these bonds, all these foreclosure bonds, all these national bonds from out of the Treasury and the Fed, and also down at the county level. And this is all the annuity monies and the pension funds that release to, and the utilities, and also the power companies and energy companies that releases monies to the state, to the counties, to the judges' pension funds, to the county employee pension funds, and it all does this when they kick somebody out of their house and they complete a foreclosure. So we have a whole court system that is corrupt, and we can prove this now through these patents, backed up with the information that Renee has found and the information that Carol has found. I mean, we can tie these guys and nail them to the wall now. We have all the evidence we need. Now all we got to do is bring this stuff forward and start laying it down. And, the counties are going to be held to account. Judge Nasty is going to be held to account. And we could do this all across, in every county across the entire state, the entire nation, all 3,400 plus counties, because these are all automated processes that deal with not a contract between you and me, buyer and seller, but between contracts and licensing agreements between corporations. I mean, do you know that the BLM, for God's sakes, is a publicly traded company?
Absolutely.
That's a problem.
They're registered
and the
in Puerto
problem
Rico
with that
too, I
is-
think, right?
Yeah,
the
they're
problem with
subcorp to the U.S. Inc.
The problem with that is this. What they're doing is they surface to create stocks and bonds that they could publicly sell, but then they go underground into these hidden LLCs where they go into these licensing agreements and these other contracts and these third-party vendor contracts with whom? The counties, the state, utilities, pension funds, you name it. They go into it, and then they come back up again when they want to liquidate the bonds and pays it out. So they're doing this. It's kind of like a dolphin going, coming up and jumping up in the water. They come up public when they need to, and then when they want to hide something, they go underwater and become an LLC, and they hide everything. And this we can show.
And not only can we show it, but the simplicity of this is the county charter. It's violated. When you have every single vendor actually in contrast and in conflict with the people in the county. Because when you have a county who is contracting with the very providers that can shut your life off in an instant, they can shut off your electricity, they can shut off your gas, they can throw you in jail with the help of each other. That's RICO. That's conspiring. That is a monopoly. What we have is a game of monopoly right in our home without even knowing it. Your children.
And what does a patent allow somebody to do? A patent allows somebody to monopolize. And that's what they're doing. They're using the patents to monopolize. And they've got a huge monopoly that is, think of it as one big patent that they've monopolized us underneath.
Okay. All right. I just want you guys to get out. Ken, I know you've got a Facebook page that has a lot of information on it. Why don't you tell people how to find it?
You can either find me through my name, Ken Dost, D-O-S-T, or you can go to my Facebook page, which is Mortgage Equals Copyright Derivative, and that's the equal sign, not spelled out. Copyright equal sign, copyright derivative. There's lots of information, lots of diagrams, lots of charts, lots of information. It's a hub of information.
Excellent. Renee?
Yeah, I also have the shows. Carol and I do One Mom on a Borough and Two Moms on a Borough, BOROUGH. On Facebook, you can find the information going to National Homeowners Justice Coalition and Renee Powers, 1E, and my One Mom on a Borough show Facebook page on Renee Powers and One Mom on a Borough. I have many articles I've written on these subjects. We tie everything in through Facebook. In our research, you'll find a lot of what we're doing between all of those that Ken just suggested and I suggested. But the one thing I'd really like to leave us with tonight is the simplicity of this. What Ammon has brought to Oregon, whether people like the way he's done it or not, the one key thing that people haven't mentioned the other night at that meeting, what's the one underlying thing people keep saying? I want the federal government gone. We want the FBI gone. Well, in the county level, if your board of supervisors and your lower government is not doing their job and they're violating the county charter, they can be shut down and lose their pensions. So this is very serious. And all we want to do is say, let's work together. Quit stealing our homes, quit hurting the people. The Constitution is non-negotiable, and it should not take what we have had to do and what we have had to experience to shut them down, but by their own actions.
Well, I want to know who's going to shut them down? Who's going to be able to accomplish that?
The people have in the county charters. This is what I'm saying. Pull out your county charters. Go get them. You can usually find them online. Read them. It tells you exactly what they can and cannot do. That simply. You can form your own safety committee, just like they've done in Burns, Oregon, or in Hanna County, right there. They have their page right online for people to see. It shows you what they're doing and what they're about. Because the basic thing is the people get together, you get your committee together. The board of supervisors is supposed to be that safety committee for we, the people in our towns. They're supposed to protect us from any tyranny coming down from the state or the federal government.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, now I want to know who, okay, I see all that, but my question when I get to this point in the conversation is always this: who's going to enforce this? Without a decent sheriff,
well, again,
the problem.
Because, there's always going to be a problem because, like Judge Nasty, no matter what is lawful or not, they are going to do it. But this is their own rules. This is their own county charter. You have a head of your legal team. You have your county counsel, your lead county counsel. You have your CEO. You have your administrator and your comptrollers. These people are, and any of them that are elected, they have what's called a certificate of liability that they're supposed to provide for liability.
Okay.
Your key here is they steal everything through insurance.
We're out of time, Renee. We're going to have to take this up again. Ken Doss,
Okay.
Renee Powers, thank you so much. I want to give a
You
big
got it.
shout
Thanks,
out
Patricia.
to Hawk. Thank you so much for the live stream tonight. God bless everybody, and liberty and justice for all.
Thank
Next.
Hammond. Thank Hammond Bundy.
Thank you.